Disney princesses are the hallmark of the Disney brand. They are the first thing that comes to mind when you think of fairy tales and actually talking or singing animals if you want to include that for some reason, and are just an overall sweet element to their own stories. Whereas most of us know, they are usually the main heroes of those very movies or important side characters to the main hero that go along a journey of self-discovery to believe and achieve in their own dreams, to make the impossible the possible. Of course, they also do vary in quality, but they aren't downright horrible unless you're like me who gets enraged at the fact of Disney's brand of princesses, including the likes of Mulan for some reason, who isn't a princess at all, but is just for the sake of selling merchandise that truly pisses me off even as a massive Disney fan myself. But we are not here to debate who qualifies as a princess or who sucks the most, because that's an argument you just won't win against me, where we instead will just focus and talk about the one I believe is the best and brightest that Disney has to offer, one that actually saved and helped Disney on several occasions, saying when they would have gone bankrupt, and the reputation of their direct-to-sequels and live-action films that proved that it could have been great. Whereas you have guessed right, that is, of course, being Cinderella being the best Disney princess for those very listed reasons. Yes, you can make the argument that the others are better in some cases, and I wouldn't disagree with that, but when you look back upon Disney's own history and the overall picture of what it should be about, and how people these days refer to the Cinderella story of characters told time after time of one girl or any other person finding the courage to pursue their own dreams in the face of adversity from your own peers, then you would actually agree with that definition. Where other than the use of the fairy godmother for a limited trial, it's just a very simple human story when it comes down to the important details, where she does shine as a character despite some of the story not being as good as what you normally associate with today's world. Like, I really do recognize that the original 1950 film isn't as interesting as what Disney was capable of doing after, but it doesn't mean it's a bad film completely. It should be recognized as one of the greatest animated films for the reasons that resonate with all of us growing up, what Disney meant to us with the playgrounds of fantasy, and what modern adaptations did told where the story was truly capable of doing without being something it's really not. Because for the original, it's just how you wish they didn't spend too much time on Lucifer, Jacques, and Gus, since the story should have been about the main character at all, where the live action actually did a better job at conveying this honestly. And again, something I want to factor in this video for the lessons that carry on from her parents to herself, that actually reverberate the meaning of what Cinderella is without taking away the most important parts of her own character, or removing something in place of, you know, what they did with Mulan or any other remakes that have came out in the 21st century. This is of course coming from the line of having courage and being kind, the greatest power that humanity can display in the face of darkness or anything we struggle with, including the time of the death of our own parents. This includes something that straightens the character of Cinderella a lot more to understand what they were going for and who she was as a person more than anything. That she is the expression of simplicity, aiming to achieve high with the position she was put in and didn't deserve it all because of the jealousy from her own step-family. It's one that is truly worth admiring, that she continues to pursue a dream while stuck doing these meaningless chores all day long, that no matter how her heart had been grieving under the abuse her step-family shows, she just chooses to keep on believing, keeping the courage and kindness alongside the way. Even if the clock continues to strike, whether it be for the spell to expire to her during her night with the prince or the overall reminder of what she is supposed to do required of during the day, she just continues to keep dreaming on with that same courage despite being dragged into the dumps every hour of her own life. These traits are what many critics have overlooked constantly about Cinderella, thinking it's all about through a one-dimensional lens of the stereotypical waiting on a prince to save the day, rather than what she is about, too meek to help herself when that was never the actual case. Which again is why I think the live-action remake for existing as well, providing the same substance of the original character with some clarity to her background to straighten the meaning of her own resolve. The statements that you didn't think she did it for herself just come out of plain stupidity and zero understanding of her own family. Sure, we are mainly applying the original 1950 film here, but the character still remains the same as ever, a compassionate human being who displays kindness and courage wherever she goes and never stops doing so. That you remind yourself that there is a reason why she is recognized to be one of the most popular Disney princesses to date, for generations after her first Disney appearance, because of those very qualities of her own character, with the duality of beauty and simplicity demonstrated by her two animators Mark Davis and Eric Larson. I mean, speaking about her character, I really do agree with what Disney Animation's creative officer Jennifer Lee said about the character recently that helped her during middle school, being of course strong-willed in the face of abuse, with her courage to continue with her bond between animals and a picture of boundless optimism for a brighter future. Where when you think about that, her character really does match the quality of Walt Disney himself, who looked ahead to the same bright future no matter the odds he faced, including at a time when the company would have fallen had Cinderella not succeeded. His life goals from Cinderella to Disneyland are indeed that of a Cinderella story in it themselves, because he looked to achieve what he desired no matter how hard or difficult the circumstances might be, with Lady Tremaine being the naysayers trying to prevent such a success from ever happening. Jealousy because one person is both beautiful inside and out and deserves all the best. And in this day and age, she really does stand out a lot more when most princesses have displayed the quirky personalities, the modern ones that blend in the same whether they are princesses or just main Disney heroes in general, compared to the past like herself that remain unique, involving those like Snow White and Belle. Comparisons of beauty and grace. That she both takes the initiative to do what is right while also sticking to a belief of respect even to those who hate her the most, an intelligence that works above and beyond any heinous conflict. Of course, I cannot really forget to mention the dress transformation scene done by the fairy godmother, where a character is to prove her worth to the people and not just to hand things on her to a silver platter. Yes, the film kinda makes it seem like it's so, but of course it's also something more with that. That this scene is the true definition of what Disney magic is and what a fairy tale represents, with something you can call one of the greatest animated scenes in the history of cinema itself. It is a reflection of who her true character is, away from those who tried to take that away from her to shame what beauty could actually be, inspiring makeovers across the world for little girls to dream of who they want to be. And before you ask, no, I'm not going to talk about the prince at all in this video as a character, because I did that enough of discussing about the sequels and the remake where he actually was one, rather than a random stand-in for the sake of the story again, as we are focusing on Cinderella and the original 1950 film. Where again, her dress does have a cultural impact on society as a whole in terms of fashion and the endearing personality that translates to many times of the simple beat of a story that has been drummed out time and time again. And of course, mentioning all of that and the sequels, Cinderella 3 does actually reiterate these points about her, not mentioning the second because it's not interesting story-wise to me, or it's just to show us that nothing can ever stop her. Her character still remains the same despite the reset circumstances in favor of Lady Tremaine to benefit her own family. That she is still the same courageous woman who is determined to connect to the one she found that very night and displays the same compassion to Anastasia, who deserved that same love in the first place, conflicted between what had happened. Because also in the original film, she of course was on the side of her family against Cinderella tearing up her dress and trying to make her feel bad, but now turned against that, yearning for something more in her life that Cinderella was able to see. That she was compassionate enough to help her out and find what she really wanted in her life too. That she doesn't care about her own self and her own goals, but she also cares about the others that are around her. A selfless, kind, compassionate human that you just have to admire. And all of Disney's versions of Cinderella represent the true value of a hero, one that stands tall no matter how high the cost may be, to have courage and to be kind. If more people were like Cinderella, then the world would be a much better place rather than having snobbish, selfish, ungrateful people like Lady Tremaine existing at all. Sure, you could say you would want more for her or prefer the original scripts that have her more involved with how she rebels against her family, but I don't think that would deliver the same charm as what we already know about her. A centerpiece to balance grace and determination. If the heart is in the right place, then any person can succeed to their own heart's desire, the wish that makes a dream finally come true. So when you do look back on Cinderella, you truly see the belief that things can be better in your own life. That even while in the face of the darkest times that seem inescapable, our perseverance of optimism can achieve the impossible, leading the world with kindness and hope for a peaceful, unified world. It is the center core of what makes Disney who they are when people think of magical places and castles that soar high above the sky. Those big places that come from small backgrounds. No matter what we might think could be a better character in some places, or of course better movies that have surpassed Cinderella in some way, all of us can still be inspired by what she brought, what she believed in, and what she accomplished. Because when you dream, you believe what can be done will be done, as long as you keep beating that within your own heart, where that is the stuff all of us can actually strive for. And with that all said, I'm all done. Goodbye.